This is the video for Corpus Christi Youth Ministry on January 20th of 2021. Today we are talking about purpose and vocation. And to talk about that, I want to follow the story of Elijah in the Bible. And I want to pick it up where Elijah has this prophetic duel with the prophets of Baal. So the background of this story. Remember, Israel was delivered from Egyptian slavery by the Passover, and then by the splitting of the Red Sea, and then they met with God at a covenant at Mount Sinai, these incredible events in their history. And then they're fed by the manna for 40 years to the desert, and they're brought to the promised land. This is the God who saved them, the God who delivered them, the God who provided for them. But the way they repaid him was that they forgot him. So several centuries later, after they came into the promised land, you were in the land of Israel, and they no longer worship God. They're following this other god called Baal. And of course, this is a false god, does not exist. But they all start following his worship. And there's these prophets of Baal that are in Israel. Well, the prophets of the Lord, the one true God, are being killed by the leadership, by Queen Jezebel. So this is the background that Elijah steps into the spotlight and says, all right, you say that Baal is the one true God. I say that God is the one true God. Let's duel it out. Let's offer a sacrifice. And back in those days, you would offer a sacrifice, you put it on the altar, and then you'd burn it completely. And he's saying, let's not burn it. Let the true God burn it. Let the true God bring fire down from heaven. And the prophets, all right, let's do this. Let's go. So they set up their altars, and they prepare their sacrifices, and Elijah lets the prophets of Baal go first. And they do. So they start doing their rituals and things like that, but nothing happens. Nobody's listening. And so they try a little harder to get this God's attention. And still, nothing's going on. Nothing's happening. And Elijah starts taunting them. They start cutting themselves, slashing themselves. They start mutilating themselves, trying to convince this God to hear them. But of course, this God does not exist, so he can't hear them. And finally, Elijah says, that's enough. Watch this. And so he has the sacrifice prepared, and he has people dig a moat around the altar and pour water on the sacrifice, because water and fire don't mix. So he's trying to prove a point here, and he says, put water on it again, and they do. Put water on it a third time, and they do. And all the water is collected in this ditch around the altar. And then he prays to God, and this fire comes down from heaven, consumes the sacrifice, even laps up all the water that's in the little moat. And obviously, it's who's God? God is God, not this Baal thing. All right, so the people of Israel start chanting, the Lord is God, the Lord is God. Elijah wins, but this makes Jezebel mad, and so she just wants to kill him. So what does Elijah do? After this great victory, he runs, he flees, which I always find striking, that this great prophet Elijah, who just won this, I mean, think of the guts it took to take on these prophets. And he runs. He's scared. And he runs south, past the land of Judah, into the desert. And he just wants to die. It's really striking to me. Here is this prophet given purpose by the Lord. He's the prophet who's going to bring Israel back to God. And he doesn't feel like he did it. He says, my life is good as dead. They're trying to kill all the prophets. They're trying to kill me too. What's the point? I may as well be dead. Well, he decides to go to sleep and wait for God to kill him. But God doesn't kill him. Instead, God sends an angel who taps him on the shoulder and says, take this bread, eat this, drink this water, and you're going to need it because the journey will be too much for you if you don't. And he eats it, drinks the water, and then he goes back to sleep, waiting to die. The angel Lord comes to him a second time, taps him on the shoulder and says, take it, eat this, drink this water, because you got to do it or else the journey will be too long for you. And so he does it, and he goes on a 40-day journey to Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb. This is the mountain of the Lord. This is the mountain that when the people were brought out of Egypt, this is the place God came down to them. This is the place where God said, I am your God. You will be my people, and I am your God forever, no matter what. I am your God. Here at this place, that's where that happened. So where is he going? He's going back to the place where God promised to be his God. And this is where that story that we all know of God making his presence known to Elijah. He goes into a cave, and then outside of the cave there's a great fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And there was a great wind breaking the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. And then there was a great earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And then there's this tiny whispering sound. And at that, Elijah recognizes the Lord, covers his face with his cloak because you can't look upon the Lord and live, and he walks out. And God questions him, Elijah, why are you here? Now, God gave him a purpose. God gave him a reason. He's supposed to be bringing Israel back to God. And where is he? On the Sinai Peninsula. Nowhere near Israel. But he's not mad at him. Instead, he's trying to teach him. So he's trying to get Elijah to understand what's going on. Elijah, why are you here? And so Elijah tells him, basically, I've tried to stay true to your covenant. They're trying to kill all the prophets. I'm the only one that's left, and they want to kill me too. That's why I'm here. But God says it the second time, Elijah, why are you here? He gives the same answer. But this is where God reassures him. You are my prophet, and I am sending you because I am your God, and I will be with you. And he doesn't say it exactly like that, but he says it in this way. He gives him a mission. Elijah comes to the Lord at the place where the covenant was established, and God comes. He reveals himself, reassures Elijah that he's with him, and then gives him a mission. You know those monarchs in Israel who were trying to kill you? I want you to go to anoint a new king. And then the place above that in Aram, modern day Syria, anoint a new king there. And then I want you to anoint a new prophet to succeed you, Elisha. And so he goes and begins to fulfill that mission. But I find it really relatable, because how many times have we seen God do amazing things in our life? How many times have we asked God for prayers and he answers us? How many times have we gone to Mass and we feel his presence? How many times has the Lord revealed himself to us? And then we turn around, maybe even the same day, and we're distraught. We're scared. And we don't know what to do. We don't know which way to go, because we say, God, where are you? What are you doing? I don't understand. We don't see the Lord's plan all the time. And I think we end up like Elijah. Sometimes there's these God highs, as we call them, where we know God is real. We know we have a purpose. We know we have a reason for being here. And then there's other times where we just don't feel it. It just doesn't seem like there's a reason for me to be here. And it's in these times we should do what Elijah does. Go back to the place of the covenant. And I'm not saying go to the Sinai Peninsula. Go to the place of the new covenant. Go to Mass. Encounter Jesus in the Eucharist. He is the new covenant. His blood established the covenant for our salvation. And it's in that covenant that we're made one with him. It's in that covenant that we find out who we are. Who are we? We're not just human beings created in the image and likeness of God. We're human beings created to be sons and daughters of God. And through that covenant, through that sacrifice, that's what you have become. You are a child of God. Don't forget who you are. And as a child of God, you have a mission. You have a purpose in this world. You were not created for no reason. You were created for a definite reason, for a definite purpose. You have a definite mission in a world that needs to hear the gospel. There are people you are sent to who need to hear what you have to say, that I can't reach, that no one else can reach, that you can reach because of your skill set, because of your talents, because of your gifts that God has given you. Sometimes we feel like Elijah, and we feel like, God, I can't do this. God, I tried, but they still want to kill me. God, my life is no good. I may as well be dead. But don't run from the Lord in those times. Run to him and open your heart to him. Go to the place of the covenant. Go to Mass. Go to the Eucharist. And if you can't make it to Mass, if you can't make it to adoration, he is with you. Maybe just look at a crucifix. And know that God is with you. And He's not just with you. He has created you on purpose for a purpose. He is calling you to it. So say yes. Say yes and see the plan of God unfold in your life. See the amazing things He can do. Look at the amazing things He can do, not just for you, but for the world around you. How He can bring people to Christ and share heaven with the world.